Let us look at what happens to the eggs after they have been collected in the IVF procedure. The clinician actually goes in with the help of a needle and punctures the follicles to collect the follicular fluid. This follicular fluid is collected in tubes. This follicular fluid contains the eggs, and there are cells which are surrounding the eggs called the cumulus cells, which actually protect and supply nutrition to these eggs. The entire thing is known as a oocyte-cumulus complex. This fluid is handed over to the embryologist, who is working along with the clinician in the lab. That embryologist, under the microscope, examines the follicular fluid and identifies the OCC and keeps it separately in another dish, which contains a balancing media. See, once the eggs have been extracted from the follicle and then brought to the outside and then kept in that balancing media, they have also undergone some sort of a shock. We want them to recover from that shock. So we keep them in the incubators in conditions which mimic the natural conditions, allow them to rest for 2-3 hours. During this time, the sperm is getting prepared, because these eggs have now got to be fertilized with the sperms. How do we fertilize these eggs? We could choose to do an IVF, or we could choose to do an ICSI. In IVF, the eggs and the sperms are kept together in the same dish, and the dish is then kept back in the incubator to be checked tomorrow. In some cases, we check them after 2-3 hours also to see if excess sperms can be shed off and only the oocyte complex can be kept separately. This is to prevent infection with the presence of too many sperms around the eggs. If the eggs have to be fertilized by injecting, then we take these eggs under a microscope and use micro-injectors to inject the sperm directly into the egg. This is known as ICSI ICSI. If they have been fertilized with ICSI, then also they are brought back into the incubator to be examined tomorrow for seeing whether they have actually gotten fertilized or not. Next day, when the dish is brought back under the microscope, what we are looking for is whether these eggs have gotten fertilized. And how do we know that? You can see distinctly two nucleus inside the cell, and this is known as a 2PN or 2 pronuclei. This suggests that the egg has actually gotten fertilized. In some cases, if we have delayed checking, then they might have gone on to become 2 cells also. So this is the start of the growth of an embryo. We usually do not come back to examine them on the second day of fertilization, but go straight to the third day to examine them. Why do we do that? We don't want to expose these embryos unnecessarily to the outside environment. Simple. On day 3 of fertilization, we expect these embryos to have become at least 6 cells or maybe even 8 cells. Now these cells are nice round structures. They should be equal in size, and if it's such, then we call it a grade A embryo. If the cells are not equal in size, or they are not even in number, or maybe a couple of these cells are fragmented, then we call them a grade B embryo. And if the fragmentation is furthermore in quantity, maybe 1/3 of the embryo is damaged, maybe 1/4 of the embryo is damaged, then we call it a grade C embryo. These are all visual impressions, mind you, and these embryos are growing organisms. So a grade A might become a grade B subsequently, or a grade B might reform itself and become a grade A. So this is all completely okay. We again don't check them on day 4, and we then bring them out on day 5, by which time the embryo should have grown into what is known as a blastocyst. Now what is a blastocyst? A blastocyst is a very distinct looking embryo with cells at the periphery, then there is a central clearing, and there is a clump of cells inside that central clearing, which is known as the inner cell mass. We stop at the level of blastocyst, because post becoming a blastocyst, the embryo inside is going to hatch out of the shell and come out and possibly go and implant somewhere. So at this stage, the blastocyst is frozen to be used later for the patient concerned. Rarely, yes, we do transfer them back in the same cycle, in which case a blastocyst is the right time for the embryo transfer to take place. We do not transfer more than 1 or 2 embryos because essentially all of these are potential live beings, and we don't want you to be saddled with multiple pregnancies because multiple pregnancy is almost always associated with bad outcomes and complications. So this is what happens to your eggs once they have been taken out of your ovaries and they have landed up in the lab. Hope this was interesting for you.